Good afternoon and welcome to Super League on Sunday, live from the Brick Community Stadium, home of the Wigan Warriors, as they play host to Hull FC on the final day of round 23. And Wigan at home are a tough nut to crack. They have lost here just 5 times in the last 3 years. They take on a Hull FC side wondering what on earth has happened to their season, one they would rather forget. But Super League being Super League, you will need no reminding that the Black and Whites pulled off one of the shocks of the season just over a month ago as they outplayed and beat the current champions over in East Yorkshire. Okay, the results so far in round 23 look like this. A brilliant solo effort from Kai Taylor-Ray kick-started the Wolves as they tore the Tigers apart on Friday night, 28 points to 6. At the same time, the Leeds Rhinos saw off the Catalan Dragons 18-6 to get within 2 points of a playoff spot. Then yesterday, we watched Hull KR dismantle St Helens 42 points to 6 to extend their winning run to 7 on the bounce. The Saints have now won just 3 from their last 10. And last night, the Red Devils underlined their own playoff credentials with a 60 points to 10 drubbing of the Huddersfield Giants. So with just 2 games remaining this afternoon, Hull KR sit clear at the top of the Super League table, albeit with Warrington and Wigan hot on their heels in 2nd and 3rd. The Red Devils, St Helens and the Catalan Dragons currently make up the playoff positions, although the Leeds Rhinos and Lee Leopards may well have a say in who occupies 5th and 6th a month from now. A win for Wigan this afternoon will be the minimum expectation for an organisation earmarked for a top 2 finish by pretty much everyone before a ball was kicked this season. Hull FC will just be desperate to avoid the wooden spoon in 2024. And this is how the teams line up. The Warriors make 2 changes to the starting lineup that nilled St Helens at Magic Weekend, with Jacob Douglas deputising on the wing for the rested Abbas Miski and Patrick Mago coming in at loose for the suspended Cade Ellis. It's a career 200th appearance for Liam Marshall, who will be aiming to extend his lead at the top of the Super League try-scoring ladder from the left wing position. And Wigan continue with the half-back pairing of Adam Kieran and Jack Farriman that produced a try and a try assist in last week's derby win. The head coach, of course, is Matt Peake. Hull FC, meanwhile, have had to reshuffle their deck again due to suspension and injury following their loss to the Broncos. The exciting Logan Moy is in for Jack Walker at fullback, while Will Gardner comes into the front row in place of Lingy Sow, who also picked up a one-match ban last week. Halves Jack Charles and Morgan Smith are retained in the continued absence of the injured Jake Truman, and the return of Jack Ashworth adds some much-needed size to the bench for the coach, Simon Cricks. Yes, John Wells here alongside former England international and Leeds Rhino, Courtney Winfield-Hill. Courtney, great to have your company. First order business, take us to the snapshot.
Yeah, wonderful afternoon ahead here, particularly for the man on left of screen, Marshall. As you mentioned there before, Super League's leading try scorer with 22. His best came in 2022 with 26. I reckon he's going to make some inroads there this afternoon out on that edge. Expect him to have a few collisions with the man on the right. Tuamavave went off last week in the 16th minute with a HIA, but he's come through that this week. Expect him to get through the line to see a bit of speed from him this afternoon. I expect some big collisions between these two and a cracker game ahead.
So it's Wigan and Hull as we close out round 23, and all eyes understandably on the Warriors. Can the World Club winners, Challenge Cup holders and defending champions rediscover the kind of form that put those trophies in the cabinet, or can Hull FC possibly repeat the heroics of their reverse fixture back in July? That was only one of 3 wins for the Black and Whites this season, and whilst their away form rather, has been consistent, it's been exactly the wrong kind of consistency. They've lost all 11 on the road. Now, the referee this afternoon is Aaron Moore, and should he be called upon, James Vella is on standby in the bunker for us. And Courtney, it is under a slate grey sky that we're about to get this one underway. Summer has well and truly gone.
Yeah, it's that time of year, isn't it, where you start to feel finals rugby coming into play. A little bit of drizzle there around Elliott has eased, but it will be greasy out there across the match, no doubt.
So Adam Kieran just waiting on the cue from the sideline and the signal from Aaron Moore that we're ready to get this one underway. As I said, the minimum expectation from the Warriors, I would imagine pretty much everybody else in this stadium, would not just be a win, but a significant win as well. The magic number for the Warriors today, a +39 margin of victory, puts them in second position at the end of round 23. It'll be performance and result first, of course, knowing Matt Pete. But I dare say eyes on points difference as well. They could be vital come the end of the season. So we are up and running. And the first carry from Herman Essa, and he runs into a cabal of Wigan Warriors defenders. Lane deputising in the hooking role. We have a number of injuries and suspensions that have affected that position for Hull FC. No Danny Hout for some weeks now. Denise Barmforth picked up a ban for a yellow card after the final whistle at Magic Weekend. Yusuf Aydin, been a bright spark for Hull FC since he joined midway through the season. Jack Charles into Cartwright, dealt with reasonably easily, again by 4 or 5 Warriors. That'll be a theme this afternoon. The numbers in tackles been remarkably consistent defensively, the Wigan Warriors this season. So a good set defensively to kick us off then from Wigan. And Jack Charles is forced to step inside before he gets boot to ball. They complete their set, but it is straight down the throat of Jay Field. Field skips across and is taken high. Penalty is the first defensive contribution from Hull FC. Look, they're going to need luck, they're going to need poise, they're going to need patience, Hull FC, if they're going to get anything out of this game. That's not the way to start affairs, is it? Yeah,
it's not. First touch in defence and give away a high shot like that. You know, last time they met, when they did get the victory over them, they certainly won position against the Warriors, didn't they? And they can't afford to invite them into their good ball end today. They have been impressive as the season's gone on, a little bit more scramble and desire in defence, but you can't throw invitations like that out.
No, certainly not to the defending champions. There have been some statement wins this weekend, haven't they? I'm thinking Hull KR and Salford in particular. You get the feeling the defending champs want to remind everybody that they wear the crown at the moment. Mago has been adjudged to have knocked on. So a result for the visitors, for Hull FC. Patrick Mago in his first carry of the afternoon.
And again, another simple one, wasn't it? We talked about the greasy conditions to start the day. Couldn't get him on his back, but it just rips out. Maybe a little bit of a hand in there from Gardner, but he high-fives his teammate instead as they pack down a scrum, and the black and whites will get the feed.
He was under a fair bit of attention there, wasn't he? Patrick Mago, Will Gardner all over the ball late into that tackle. Either way, we get back underway and it will be Hull FC in possession. And you're right, the reverse fixture back in round 18 started fast and started really positively for the home side. And they get a chance here now to at least end this set in the right area of the field. They've got to continually put distance between themselves and their own try line. And they're going to have to score some points, so you're going to have to be creative, you feel. Jordan Lane takes one from dummy half. The set kind of broken down there a little bit. Intended recipients just caught flat-footed for a second or two.
Release 3, Jack, 10 metres. Goal 3.
Now Essa.
Still free, offload.
I mean, you were talking before we came on air. He has been a workhorse for Hull FC in sometimes dire circumstances this season. Ball out, Charles to Yusuf Aydin, rides the tackle of Ethan Havard, and it's a dominant and quick play the ball as well. Short side, Charles, short ball to Jed Cartwright. Adam Kieran comes in, closes him down late, offload play, onside the referee, but then it's fumbled. It's into the hands of Jay Field. And again, more evidence there, just a lack of patience from Hull FC.
Yeah, just when they gave themselves their first opportunity at the line, the ball does bobble out. As you say, there, a lack of patience, just trying to force something that wasn't necessarily required. And they've got to take every moment they get this afternoon when they're down this end of the field.
Do you think I can get into an opposition head when they come to a place like this, where Wigan, it's been a fortress for so long that they feel they've almost got to play at every opportunity? It must be quite hard to quieten those thoughts.
Definitely, as we see a little breakout on the outside edge there, trying to drag him into touch, does really well to stay in the field of play in wet conditions. I think it does, and particularly when you know your last game, they needed the jump and they got the jump and they went in at half-time. You're desperate for points because you know that's the recipe. But on that occasion, it was just a little too forced.
Oh, quick hands from Jake Wardle, but just into the feet of Liam Marshall. Referee's calling as the ball's been touched in flight here. We'll wait and see what his decision is in terms of restart of play. And I think this will be possession again to the Wigan Warriors. They'll get another set. Yeah, it's just a hand in there from Harvey Barron. It's a quick shuffle on from Jake Wardle.
It was lovely hands on that left-hand edge from the Wigan Warriors, and Harvey Barron really didn't have too much of an option but to jam in. If he didn't make that touch, it was probably away down the sideline.
Yeah, he's been a classy centre, hasn't he? Now, Liam Marshall may be the try scorer extraordinaire for the Wigan Warriors, but Jake Wardle's put a fair few of those on the plate for him, hasn't he? Eckersley, tackle one. Interested to see how this halves combination continues. It's a makeshift halves combination, but they did pretty well last week at Magic Weekend. Farrimond and Kieran. Play two. Kieran is in the half-back position. On to Thompson. Gets the buffers up. Options either side for the Warriors. They come left into the hands of Mago. The defence is holding up pretty firmly so far for Hull FC. They've managed to slow the momentum of the Warriors, but they are just 10 metres away from the black and whites line now. Kieran steps off the left and again gets cut in half by some good cover defence. Jordan Lane at the heart and the thick of things. They get to the end of the set, the Warriors. Short kick through from Cruz Lehman. It bounces around awkwardly and he's cleaned up efficiently in the end by Morgan Smith. And they're going to have to defend another set, Courtney.
Yeah, they will. I love the early signs, as you said there. It is a makeshift halves pairing. Kieran with his first run in the halves last week at Magic. As we see there, Havard storming through. He wanted his name on that scoreboard. Instead, we see it over the sideline as we see a messy little dropout kick.
Yeah, Jack Charles squirts the ball towards the sideline, picked up and cleaned up by Eckersley. He's announced himself as a regular first grader, hasn't he, this year? Thompson straightens up.
Good, Jordan.
Got shape out left. It comes to Mago. Mago to Havard. Fairly basic stuff from the Warriors so far. Jay Field is moving in the backfield. He's lining up outside Farrimond. It's coming to his side now. Farrimond to Field. Danger man. Cut out ball. First try to the Wigan Warriors. And it is to Jacob Douglas. His first senior try for the Wigan Warriors. And it was some finish as well. Just his second appearance. Brilliant cut-out pass from Jay Field. And Jacob Douglas opens the scoring for the home side in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, and in he goes out on that right-hand side. So we see there, and you mentioned as we went, Wigan Warriors just feeling their way into this game. Hadn't had too much possession down the good end of the field. Coaching staff will be pleased to get the jump there, and it was through Kieran. And how many times do we see this? Jay Field, great finish in the corner. Outstanding start, and they'll be wanting to build on that all afternoon. Again, Jay Field, he does that no look, doesn't he? He doesn't even hardly have to look. He knows he's got that outside support. Fires the ball. Lovely finish in the corner. How special for him this afternoon.
It's his second appearance. He made his debut back in June in that 1918 loss to the Warrington Wolves. He made 197 metres that day from 17 carries. So he didn't hang around on his debut, did he? He got stuck in. This conveyor belt of young talent coming through the Warriors system. Came through the scholarship system. I think he spent some time out at Barrow this year and the Bradford Bulls, but has got his try-scoring exploits as a Warrior off and running with an excellent four-pointer. It was picture perfect, wasn't it, from Jay Field as well? Just your sign of a classy player, I think, that they look like they've got so much time.
Yeah, they do, and what an incredible time for him to come in. Only a couple of games for Wigan, and he sits outside the class of Jay Field, who just dishes it up week in, week out when available. When it's not, it's Bevan French.
Adam Kieran then, first shot of the afternoon from the touchline. He's got an 88% strike rate this year. Well, that'll have taken a little dint because he's not been able to convert Jacob Douglas's try. But the Warriors are up and running, 4 points to 0.
Yeah, and it was, there we are, the celebrations over in the corner. They knew they had to come out and be the first to score because last time they met, it was the opposite. They went on to lose that game, but not this afternoon. They have other ideas. Long way to go, but they've certainly served up their intentions.
Thompson with the first carry of the set after points, driven back 5 metres from Hull FC. Now it's Havard, again driving it in.
Certainly stimulated a few numbers back into the defence for Hull FC. You can see numbers in the tacklers.
Well, there's been a penalty awarded too much in the tackle. So the first tackle, pretty good. I agree with you. The numbers in the tackle and a fair bit of aggression. Just too long, in the opinion of Aaron Moore, on play 2. Farriman clears the lines.
It's that fine line, isn't it? Always trying to tread that balance between aggression and numbers and giving away penalties that just afford Wigan so much territory upfield as they almost cross halfway.
And again, just hanging in around the ball. Havard needs to take a step backwards there before they can get back underway again. Thompson out into the channel. He had Nsemba in support. Kieran, late movement around the back of the ruck, takes possession. Out the back to Farriman. That's a nice little step, break step, beats one, wrapped up by the second and third Hull FC defender. Another one with a bright future in the cherry and white. Mago. Well, Carlos Tumivavi came out the line there on Adam Kieran. It kind of forced him to abort the play, but he still took 10 metres after contact. Leeming with a dart from dummy half. He's going to have a big role to play in the back end of the season with the absence of Brad O'Neill. End of the set then, Kieran, box kick into the corner. And it's got some chase on this. Logan Moyle will have to be good, and is. Really solid, but he's lifted and he is pulled into touch. And there was very, very little he could do there. The chase was good. That's the value of a box kick, Courtney. We talk about that box kick, that 10 by 10 metre square. You execute your set well, you put yourself in the right position, and then the chase can turn a good kick into a great result.
Yeah, and it's not just the position of the kick, it's the timing of the chase. As you see Wardle and Marshall hold him up off the ground, and conditions like today, it's just too easy to take Moy into touch. It was a great take in the air, but the Wigan Warriors do the job, and they get the ball back as they see them 5 metres out. Yeah,
well and truly in the danger zone now. Thompson, route one, straight over the top of the first defender, cut down by support, and then he's knocked on as well, and that's a genuine error, and he'd be frustrated with himself, Luke Thompson, early in the tackle count. The call goes out from Cruz Leeming. 1 set, 60 seconds of defensive work to do, and we'll be back in this position before long. Just to go back to the Logan Moy catch, you've played in a number of positions in your time, and when you see the ball go up, you've got to feel a little bit for, you know, a young and inexperienced kid like Logan Moy. There's not an awful lot he did wrong there.
No, absolutely not. Like, there was no choice, was there? He must go to the air, came down, did his best to get himself on the floor as quickly as possible, but you've got to acknowledge the defence in that situation and the experience of someone like Wardle and Marshall.
Yeah, they were on point there with the kick chase, weren't they? Harvey Barron, play one, driven back. So net 0 metres gained, you feel, from the first play. Cartwright dumped on his back again, unceremoniously, by Ethan Havard. Now it's Lewis Martin, and if there has been a bright spark and a bright number of debuts made by young players, and you look through the team, Logan Moy, Lewis Martin, Jack Charles this season, all been blooded in the first grade, bodes really well for the future, but it's the present that they're struggling with. Morgan Smith was close to inside his 40 here, and that put a bit of urgency in the covering run from Jay Field. Brings it back in field. Douglas. Carry one, and look at the position. Almost up onto the halfway line, Courtney.
Yeah, straight away, and the early kick, you know, trying to get ahead of that momentum that Wigan were building in defence, but as they storm back over the halfway. They're certainly on the back foot here at the moment, FC.
Well, here's career game number 200 for Liam Marshall, made captain today. Nice little touch by the Wigan Warriors. They do those little things really well, don't they? He'll be out for a big afternoon, maybe looking for a try or two himself. Good defensive read by Tom Briscoe on Jay Field. Gave him no time there, came out the line. There's a risk reward there. It came off for Briscoe. Mago back to centre field. Bumps off a couple of players, gets an offload away into the hands of Kieran. Second phase stuff. Cruz Leeming out to Nsemba. Nsemba cut out ball. Well, Jake Wardle dodged out the way of that one, thinking that Liam Marshall might be able to take possession, but the play breaks down.
And there's some warning shots, isn't it? Mago going in with the offload, looking for that second phase play, and there were certainly numbers out here to the left. So we see some ball skills just go a little wrong. The pass would have been in behind Marshall anyway. But it was Wardle that went under the broomstick. What's that old game you used to play at parties?
Depends which parties you're talking about. Don't know, Courtney.
You know,
let's park that one, shall we? Limbo.
Limbo. He does the old limbo. There you go.
Phew. Right. Okay. Anyway, an errant pass from Junior Nsemba. Hull FC back in possession. Don't do that to me again, Courtney.
Goal 2.
Morgan Smith into the hands of Briscoe. Someone with plenty of Super League experience. A number of different clubs, Leeds Rhinos, Leeds Leopards. Now Hull FC, or back out Hull FC. SASA with the offload. Morgan Smith showing Cartwright eventually takes possession, but he's wrapped up almost as he takes the ball. More than halfway through the set now, Hull FC. But they are in good position. Charles drops it back on the inside. Get to the end of the set. And what will Hull FC have in their locker? Morgan Smith goes to the air. Field owns it, swivels out, finds himself momentarily with a little bit of space, but that was shut down pretty quickly by Harvey Barron.
Yeah, Morgan Smith there just controls the back end of the play and gets the kick really nicely. Nice weight on it. Jai Field only had a metre to spare as we see some defence coming in now. Some solid contacts, good numbers.
And they've got to be consistent with this throughout the game, and you still wonder whether that's going to be enough against a side with a talent, a dazzling array of talent the Wigan Warriors have, notwithstanding an injury list of their own. And Hull FC have a man down in backfield as well, who's come out of that tackle well and truly second best. The Wigan Warriors play on though. Kieran from inside the 40, it's a midfield bomb, and Moy and Barron look at each other for a second before Moy takes charge. Barron carries up towards Hull FC's own 30, but Eckersley manhandles him to the ground.
Yeah, there was a little confusion at the back there, wasn't there? Just a little sideways eye between Moy and Barron in the end. They linked up well as they bring the ball back. Referee calls time off for the injury and back play.
Yeah, and it's Ed Chamberlain that he reeled backwards out of a tackle, and he's having his head, neck checked out. Let's take a look at what happened to him. It was Sam Walters carrying the ball, and maybe even a little bit of friendly fire there from Briscoe. And maybe the huge frame of Sam Walters maybe had a thing to do with that as well.
And what a frame it is. You don't want that landing straight directly on the head. Chamberlain looks to be okay as we see a thumbs up
so
from the trainer.
I beg your pardon, Courtney. The referee's going to allow Ed Chamberlain time to regain his position, get himself back on side. Hull FC get the game going again.
Move, Paddy!
Lane to Smith to SASA, bumps, turns, rolls, but there's no opportunity there to promote the ball any further.
He's been outstanding this year. I think looking at stats, I think he's one of the leading ball carriers this season, always looking for work constantly. He's been one of few shining lights for Hull FC, and it's a bit of a dreary year for them, but certainly got to applaud his work ethic.
So Jack Charles gets the kick away, and it's met by Jay Field. Jack Charles makes the first tackle on the recipient of the ball. Wigan Warriors over their own 20, play one. Liam Marshall I was looking at the all-time. We know what we know the Super League leading try scorers are. I was looking at the all-time leading try scorers. Brian Bevan is up there. And I thought 167 tries from 200 career appearances was pretty special. And I looked at Brian Bevan's record. Anybody who doesn't know that, close to 800 career tries for Brian Bevan. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. And I thought Liam Marshall was doing well. Anyway, Field. Cut out ball again. Here is Marshall, and he's in some space, but he's got some cover from Harvey Barron. Chip back on the inside, well tidied up, but then fumbled by Lewis Martin. And then Adam Kieran kicks into Jay Field. So it'll be the initial knock-on, because that was an accidental offside, but the first mistake was from Lewis Martin, who'd done everything right. He must have covered 40 metres to come in from his left wing to clean that kick up.
Yeah, he did. It was a brilliant kick back inside from Marshall. And he covered some territory. So we see the kick on the outside of the boot, looking for inside runners. Leeming was in pursuit. But what a great effort, just goes to ground. And then it's a mismatch through the middle, but they'll play the first error, as you said. Will be a Wigan feed, only 10 metres out.
Yeah, and the split 3-3 here. Cruz Leeming from the base of the scrum. Farrimond aborts play one. And he's brought down by Chamberlain. Leeming to Thompson, and it's been fairly uncomplicated from the Wigan Warriors. Now we're starting to see a bit of movement pre-play. Field moving left, stalking, lurking. Ball goes into the hands of Ethan Havard, though. Still looking on this short side, you know. But Field has left. He's now out the right-hand side of his picture as Mago takes it in just to the left of the uprights. Leeming into the hands of Farrimond. Farrimond to Field. Field into Eckersley. Eckersley gets a second, and another wonderful try assist from Jay Field. His 9th try assist of the Super League season. Eckersley, he picks up his 5th try of the campaign, and it just looks so smooth, so sharp, so on point when they get in position, Courtney.
Yeah, it does, and it was Margot that took the ball in to give them position right up on front of the sticks, get his halves and his playmakers with hands on the ball, and he does. It makes it look so easy, whether it's a cutout or terrific vision with a great line there from Eckersley, as we saw. Absolutely nothing but class from Field, as we see there. Centre of the field play, plenty of depth out the back, and it was here. What a brilliant line. He had 2 options. It was a cutout at the end. It was Eckersley's line, just absolutely hammering home. There was nothing that the FC defence could do there, as he storms over and puts them up two tries to none this afternoon.
Yeah, they manipulated the numbers really well, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did. And you know, for a second there, I was almost critical, thinking, come on, Kieran, halves, get your hands back on the ball. And just as they do, it just shows when you make that position, so crucial for your playmakers and halves to have their hands on the ball more often than not. And that's the exact reason right there, as we see Kieran take it back. None from one this afternoon, but a terrific record with the boot this year.
Well, it's on the correct side for him. He's a left footer, is Adam Kieran. And this one is a little closer to the target than the previous one. Jacob Douglas's try, of course, dotted down right in the corner. Eckersley probably 5 or 6 metres in from touch. So Kieran with the opportunity to extend the lead and put Wigan in double figures. And this time the kick is true, and Wigan go 10 points to 0 in front. There's a quarter of the game gone, and they've taken the time, haven't they? They have been patient, the Wigan Warriors. They've not tried to score on every opportunity, and I would imagine that would have been the one worry for Matt Peat, despite everything that had been said, that they perhaps thought that a try-score opportunity would be there for them on every attacking play. Yeah,
that's right. And as we saw there, and we see again, it was an error from FC that brought them back into field position, and they did that so well last time they played them, and they got the win, FC, that they didn't invite them into this end, and again, that's just burnt them a little bit this afternoon.
Well, Ed Chamberlain's in the wars. He's come out second best at that tackle again. This time it's a shoulder issue that he's holding. He's back in the defensive line, though. as Havard is dealt with in the middle of the field. Kieran, early kick. Downfield, it's not got the angle to become a 40-20, but there's a good kick chase on here as well. Logan Moy's gonna have to get his skates on. He's a good mover, is Logan Moy, but he's got very little room to move. Such is the quality of the kick chase, and Semba is the man who finally brought him to the ground. Martin, in from the left wing. Tries to go to centre field, drives through the attempted tackle of Jack Farrimond and earns a penalty, a much-needed penalty, it has to be said, for the Black and Whites.
Yeah, certainly, as you can see, was early kick there from Kieran, and multiple players still struggling to get onside. You can see fatigue starting to set in.
It's too early there, Jack.
So we see the penalty here.
Back.
There's one other game in Super League elsewhere, 6 points to 4 to London, so they take an early lead against the Leopards. It's a game with plenty riding on it as well here. You would expect Wigan were certainly the favourites to take out this. If London managed to do a number on the Lee Leopards, well, Hull FC go bottom of the table, which would be an ignominy of sorts for the Black and Whites, notwithstanding how poor their season's been. Here's is Morgan Swift, though. He's straightened up. Lively half-back, who's been involved in the majority of Hull FC's games this year. SASA. Short ball at the line to Fash, who's on the field, but it's a forced offload that falls into the hands of the Wigan Warriors. Now then, there's a knock-on being called. Which way is this going to be adjudged?
I reckon it'll be an FC feed here. I feel like was the Wigan defence. No. It'll be a Wigan feed. Referee deems.
Yeah.
What's going on there? I'm almost lucky we didn't have an injury with that flying boot coming in there to try and tidy up.
Yeah, we're talking about injuries. Brad Fash on the field because Ed Chamberlain, he'd taken a couple of heavy shots in defence. Suspected stinger, so he's on the sideline. Talk us through what stinger's like, Courtney.
Oh, it's awful. Often going in for contact, and the mechanics of the shoulder do not agree with it, and it just feels like you've got a dead limb hanging off you, and hopefully he's okay. Might come around and see him back on the pitch later in the game, but they're certainly not comfortable.
Very grotesquely described, Courtney, thank you. Cruz Lehman, infield. Farrimond, cut-out ball, into space. Now then, Eckersley stops, goes, stands up, a Hull FC defender. Lewis Martin covers Jacob Douglas just, and brings that attacking salvo to an end. And Eckersley now reels out the back of a tackle. He's holding a knee. Meanwhile, the Warriors play on. Kieran through a hole. He's looking for support. He gets it and finds it over the top. No, he doesn't. Just overcooks the pass. And he punches the ground in disgust. You feel the way that the Wigan Warriors are drilled there. They get half a break. Adam Kieran would be forgiven for expecting somebody on his shoulder.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the way they play, isn't it? You know, they see a 50-50 and they take it. And it was just Marshall there, found himself just infield a little bit. The pass was almost perfect, but he found himself infield and the ball goes over the top of his head. He too himself disappointed.
Now then, there's Zach Eckersley. Now he's been on the ground for some time, and it is a knee injury that they're checking out, so he's going through all the physio tests, but he's clearly okay to continue. He takes his position in the defensive line. He's been a revelation, hasn't he, since he burst onto the scene. Can play a number of positions, an incredibly valuable asset for Matt Pete.
Yeah, he's certainly versatile, isn't he? Played full-back at times when they've missed both field and French.
He played full-back in the reverse fixture, didn't he, back in round 18. Very nearly, his try was the last of the game, very nearly put them in a position to go on and avoid the eventual embarrassment that they faced over in East Yorkshire. And Semba took 5 metres there out of the attempted carry from Yusuf Aiden. SASA bumps off Tyler Dupree. Ball goes left. Fash, Briscoe Unconventional pass from an unconventional centre. Martin, now this guy has got some pace. He's into the back line. Is he going to go round field? No. Good cover tackle, Jay Field. Last tackle, enterprising though from Hull FC. Into the hands of Morgan Smith. Smith out to Charles. Charles to Cartwright. Dummies, right to tackle. Cartwright try. Now then, confusion in the Wigan Warriors defensive ranks. Jed Cartwright wasn't hanging around, and he opens the scoring for the Black and Whites, and that corner is a reward for some enterprising stuff the other side of the field between Briscoe and Lewis.
Yeah, it sure was, and we saw the great hands of Briscoe feeding his outside back in Martin, and last time they played, it wasn't the first time he's made line breaks like that. Incredible talent for the Black and Whites coming ahead as we see them celebrate in style. And it's Jed Cartwright, arrived on the scene earlier this year, that finishes, because they had all momentum. The left-hand defence, as we see here, fends off, had a bit of a look, backed himself to go inside, did get caught up. But as we see here, it was game over. Decided to go, showed the pump, went straight through himself.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's poor defence, poor defensive communication, poor defensive application, because they had plenty of numbers there. They had opportunity to stop Jed Cartwright.
Well, they were scrambling, weren't they? They were scrambling to be on side. It wasn't a lack of numbers. It was just, again, weren't on side, and then didn't give them the chance to give that line pressure. They won the play the ball, and it just kept coming. And in the end, it was Jed Cartwright that decided, no, I'll have one for myself this afternoon.
So, Jack Charles with his first shot from the boot, another sharpshooter. He's in the mid-80s, 85% from the boot. 5 metres in from touch. Addresses the ball. And you feel these extra points are going to be really important if they're going to stay in touch with the Warriors this season. Starts off well, but just fades to the left-hand side of the uprights, waved away by the touch judges. But they're keeping tabs on the Warriors, 10 points to 4, nearly half an hour gone. Yeah,
a really timely try there as we look up, and the staff will be impressed with that. They needed that as we see it again out to this side. He had numbers two on his right-hand side. Looked up, plenty of space, and backed himself over, but it was timely. If Wigan had been the next to score and it pushes out to 14, 16-0, then it's almost, you don't like to say it this early in the game, but it takes some chasing, wouldn't it? So they're back in the game.
Yeah, absolutely, really important. And as you say, timely score from Hull FC. SASA takes the first carry of the set. The set after points.
Move. Square now. Hold it, boys. Go one.
Again, Lane just maybe lacking a bit of communication there. Morgan Smith, first receiver.
Go two.
But it goes short side to Fash. Fash, never short of industry, never short of endeavour.
On the mark, Brad.
No nonsense player, isn't he?
Apart from the haircut. Apart from the haircut, yeah, that's a great deal of nonsense, but brilliant nonetheless. Harvey Hill is on the field. Mago it was who was spelled for Hill. First substitute, or second substitute rather, for the Wigan Warriors. Charles ducks, goes, looks. Wrapped up by Leeming and Nsemba. End of the tackle count. Kick away from Morgan Smith, and this time it's along the floor, and he was collected late there by Tyler Dupree. Referee had a look, but has decided, probably on communication with his touch judge, that there was nothing to see there. Play on. Jay Field returns it just outside the Warriors 20. Marshall.
And after scoring points, it's a decent little set. Unfortunately, he did get some attention in that kick pressure. But you can't ask for much more than a completed set on the back of a try. Something to build from, at least.
Hill. Leeming out to Farriman, kicks from inside the 40. This has gone straight down the throat of Logan Moy. That's a good defensive set there from Hull FC, and they're not afraid to play either. Here's Harvey Barr on the outside. Carlos Tumivave just struggles for a little bit of position, and he's forced back now. Then there's a ball that's been offloaded there, but it has touched a Wigan Warriors player. The touch judge has informed the referee, and this should be Hull FC possession. Yeah,
I think it will be. You saw Tumivave duck and dive and just try to find himself on the floor. He had no choice but to throw it back in. But I feel like it was into a Wigan Warriors hand.
Yeah, the
As we
referee.
see here, this was the moment, tried to duck and dive again. Wigan Warriors trying to hold him up, but it certainly played out there, and they get away with that one.
Wasn't it? Yeah. So Hull make a substitution. Jack Ashworth back after 7 weeks out, takes his place on the field. Was ignored there by Morgan Smith, who passes to Yusuf Aden. Ashworth will want to get some good early touches on the ball. He's a strong, powerful runner, and he's going to have to put his hand up for the black and whites today. Jack Charles moved late there, ball into Fash, a slip from Eckersley, but still manages to affect the tackle. Moy, dummy half. Gardner rolls out of one, brought down by a second. Wigan Warriors. Defender in the shape of Cruz Lehman. Ashworth to Charles. Charles out the back to Tumivave. Easily covered though by the Warriors. Barron is taken a little bit high, I thought, from Kieran. When he gets to the end of the set, into the hand of Charles. Charles under pressure from Dupree. Puts it into a corner. Taken well by Marshall under a fair bit of pressure. And draws a penalty as well. Jack Ashworth's first contribution was a pass, which was a front row, really. Coming on as a sub, you want to add a bit of punch and a bit of power and a bit of simplification to the Hull FC attacking setup. And then his second contribution has been the concession of a penalty.
Yeah, and after a few games out, that's the energy you try and bring, isn't it? But gets it wrong on that occasion. Just overplays it. And after a couple of nice sets, score points, a couple completed sets, they find themselves in really good position and give that away again.
Just too much from him. And now a penalty again, this time for offside. So 2 piggybacks. It's probably going to be a net loss of 50 metres or so because of 2 indiscretions. Farrimond clouts that one downfield. They're going to start this set inside the opposition 40. And it's Liam Byrne who was tackled, but guys were offside. Hull FC players offside. Harvey Hill, first carry, centre field, pumps the legs, meters after contact. A good. Wigan shape is set up. Farrimond to Dupree. Dupree into the chest of Brad Fash. There's plenty of talk going on here in backfield. Jay Field wants possession. Kieran misses him out, goes to Jake Wardle. Jake Wardle stepped hard off the inside, then off the right, beats 2 players, but he's cleaned up in a combination between Tuamavave and Cartwright, short side, and Semba. Big man on little man. Charles hanging onto his heels like a terrier, waits for reinforcements and gets them. 2 plays left in the set. And they've got deep, good shape here of the Wigan Warriors. Kieran out to Farrimond. Farrimond to Walters. Walters to Field, who rides a tackle of Briscoe. Sticks the don't argue out, but it's pulled down by Ashworth. It's now the end of the set. Short side, Farrimond to Walters, and he's brought down. It's a pretty inauspicious end to a set in possession, that, for the Warriors.
Yeah, it was. They had plenty of opportunity, didn't they? And you can certainly see intentions to get to field positions. Big, wide depth there, but Tom Briscoe does a really good job twice at the back end of that set to tidy up, particularly on the dangerous Jay Field. His experience shining through, and it's certainly a big asset for FC, isn't he?
Well, they're not going away, Hull FC here. I'm not sure this would have been a scoreline that many people would have predicted. Just under 5 minutes to play before the half-time whistle. And Hull FC within a converted score here.
I think the way FC started the year, you can't, with everything going on for them and club-wise, etc., can't ask for perfection. As we see Smith get a kick away, Field does the football skills to tidy up, but you can't ask for progress, and we have seen that this year from them. Surely they have to be excited by the progress, the young players coming through. New coach coming in for 2025.
And it's John Cartwright who's going to be the coach. His son is receiving treatment on the field. The referee's now stopped play. He's seen that and has recognised that. Now, Cartwright has tried to move, but he's been opened up, hasn't he? Oof.
Looks like he's copped a nasty one there above the eyebrow.
Oh, a bit blood then, yeah, blood.
Yeah, for those of a nervous disposition, maybe choose to go and get an early cup of tea, I think, because that's going to take some fixing.
Is it blood, guys?
Yeah, look away now.
Blood procedure. Yeah.
It's unfortunate for him as he gets the attention of the trainers, and hopefully they can tidy him up. And
It's got to be ahead anyway.
So I'll ask you with 4 minutes to go then. They've had a little wobble of Wigan over the past few weeks. This has not been a dominant first half display. What would be message number one, do you feel, from Matt Peat and the coaching staff to his charges in the dressing room at half-time?
I think what you've seen this afternoon is when they've given themselves opportunity and good field position,
Tackle 3 of that.
they've threatened, haven't they? But it's when they calm it down, and I'd be certainly going to your halves, asking them to control the game, get to your points, and set up for some time. When they have time on the ball, that's everything to the Wigan Warriors. As we saw early doors, that's exactly what was behind. As we see the coaching staff pull together their thoughts before half-time.
Good work there, Paul, because...
And this may not be the halves combination we see when Wigan play in finals. However, it's an opportunity and a chance for all those around them to continue their style of play regardless of who it is in the halves.
So Cartwright is leaving the field, I would imagine, for a head injury assessment. Certainly struggling there with fair loss of claret. Oh, that is friendly fire. They're the worst, aren't they?
They sure are, and it was certainly at speed too, so any wonder he's been opened up there, but fingers crossed.
Well,
they can
confirmation that is a head injury assessment. Set restart. First of the afternoon from what I can recollect. Dupree into the hands of Harvey Hill, tips onto Liam Byrne. Two really big, raw-boned forwards.
Hold it, boys.
Farrimond moves open side. He finds Kieran. Kieran to Field. Field on the outside to Marshall. Marshall puts the brakes on. Steps inside. He's got really good balance, but he's brought down by Tuamivave.
Play it, goal 3.
Kieran to Leeman. Leeman back on the inside to Hill. Hill steps inside one. He's brought down 10 metres away from the line. The Warriors set up to the right. Kieran finds Farriman. Farriman to Field. Field again. This time drops it on the toe. Lewis Martin was aware and alive to the threat, though.
Yeah, Lewis Martin does really well to tidy up there, and particularly to stay in the field of play with oncoming traffic. It was a nice set there from Wigan, as I mentioned just before, just for the halves to get their hands on the ball a little bit more.
They're burning through the tackles, though, here, Hull FC. They've made next to no ground whatsoever. The Warriors have turned up the heat in defence here. Perhaps they sniff an opportunity for some really good field position before we close out this first half. Tuamivave brought down. That's the end of the set. And they've made probably 20 metres. It's going to require a big boot here from Morgan Smith. He goes for a 40-20, cut off by Field on the full. They're going to start this set in Hull FC half, and there's plenty of time as well.
There sure is. It says a lot about the energy levels of the FC team there, with Tuamivave going all the way over the other side to take a run and take some pressure off his forwards.
Good first carry from Douglas. Into Byrne. Byrne, nowhere for him to go. Have a look at how the Warriors are setting up here. Hill out the back to Farriman. Farriman again with a step, but it's not fooling Brad Fash. Brad Fash is stuck to him like an octopus. Rolls him over, but then the ball comes loose and it's into the hands of Hull FC, and maybe a late opportunity now for the visitors. They've got the overlap. Oh, surely the pass should have gone there from Tuamivave. It does finally, but it's not a great one, and Harvey Barron, he's pulled down. He's going 5 seconds ago, Carlos, not now.
Yeah, it was certainly on, but I think his experience earlier, knowing how wet and slippery it is out here, maybe put a little doubt in his mind. So we see 1 minute on the clock. Can they get over the line? This will be interesting if they can.
Well, I'll tell you what, it'll change the dynamic of both half-time coaches' addresses to their players. If Hull FC do manage to manufacture something here before the half-time whistle, under a minute to go, but they've got a full set of Hull FC.
In the back, still 2.
Moy to Briscoe. Briscoe's done well, got out the clutches of Eckersley for the first time, then gets an offload away. Moy's harried and brought down by Douglas. That's a great piece of defensive play from the winger, but he's out of position. They go short side. Perhaps they should have continued with that. Morgan Smith is brought down. 2 tackles left. 20 seconds left in the half. What have Hull FC got? Charles back on the inside to Gardner. Gardner enveloped by Liam Byrne. Last tackle. It's now or never if you want points on the board. Hull FC. Jack Charles opts to run it. It's into the hands of Logan Moy. Drops it on the toe. But Jayfield is just going to let that one run. And that will be, you think, the last action of what has been a surprising first half in many respects, Courtney. That is not the scoreline many people expected. 10 points to 4. Wigan are in front, but they are not running away with this whatsoever. Douglas it was that opened the scoring on the 8th minute. Eckersley just after the quarter mark of the game. Both try-assists came from Jayfield, but then the riposte came from the black and whites in the shape of Jed Cartwright on 28 minutes. So it's 10 points to 4. The Warriors not exactly taken Hull FC apart in this first half. The question now is, will that change in the second 40? We'll be back with the half-time stats and first half analysis from Courtney Winfield-Hill in just a couple of minutes' time. Well, just 4 regular season rounds remain to determine who will occupy the playoff spots. And the Warriors, well, they're already assured their place in the top 6. Many people thought they were going to see a cricket score this afternoon to aid their points difference. The competition points are not even secure. It is 10 points to 4 in what has been a fairly even first 40 minutes. I'll tell you what, there's going to be some interesting conversations in the dressing rooms. Latest score elsewhere, we've got one other Super League match this afternoon. That's ongoing at the Cherry Red Records Stadium in Wimbledon, where the Lee Leopards are just 1 score ahead of the London Broncos. London Broncos took an early lead there, or were ahead at 1 point in that first half. Lee Leopards, they have scored just before half-time. That is the latest score, not quite at the half-time point just yet. But back to matters at hand here at the Brick Community Stadium, and it has not been one-way traffic, but it was a good early start for the Warriors, Courtney.
Yeah, it really was, and inside 8 minutes it was the ever-present Jayfield who he shows his magic once again, and it was Douglas that went over in his second appearance for Wigan. Incredible for him to go over in the corner, and they set it alight. And it was from that moment on you thought, here we go, there's going to be a big score coming this afternoon. But it was Eckersley that went over on a terrific line. Again, another assist to Field. And at that point, it was 10-0. But it was here after a terrific line break. Lewis Martin found the break and momentum. Jed Cartwright, he went through to find himself over the white line. Brilliant effort from him off the back of a terrific individual effort from Lewis Martin. He's since found himself off the field with a HIA, but it's certainly, as you said, not one-way traffic, has it? And not the scoreline we anticipated at the start of the day.
And in terms of the halftime stats as well, like, there's not an awful lot to choose between them. We know there's not on the scoreboard. There's not an awful lot there to pick apart. What's the one thing that stands out to you, if anything?
Probably 2 things stand out to me, and that's at top and bottom. 4 penalties conceded by Hull, and they've been at crucial times. Back-to-back penalties we've seen, which have then gone on to give Wigan terrific field position. And the possession, we think about 8%, only back to halfway, but it's actually a lot in terms of this game. FC have probably thrown away a couple of times. They have found themselves in good balls. So given that scoreline, I think the FC supporters probably be okay with that. No doubt the staff will have a bit more to say at halftime.
Yeah, some interesting discussions, I am sure, certainly in the away dressing room, particularly in the home dressing room. Warriors are in front, but they're not in control. Will the second half further boost the Warriors' points difference, or will Hull FC push back even further? We will find out on the other side of this break. Welcome back to our round 23 coverage of the Wigan Warriors and Hull FC, and do not adjust your sets. Wigan Warriors 10, Hull FC 4, on a weekend where we have seen some pretty one-sided scorelines. This was one that many people thought we could add to that list. Not so, not a bit of it. Hull FC playing their part in what has been an incredibly competitive first 40 minutes. You feel the difference. One try, yes, on the scoreboard, but in terms of stats, it's what you mentioned earlier, Courtney. It's those penalties conceded and when and where they were conceded by the visitors. Yeah,
FC had to work really hard, didn't they, in that first half to give themselves some good territory and access to that try line. But unfortunately, they let that pressure go, didn't they, a couple of times there, and let the pressure off. Wigan get in their way, forcing themselves down the other end. And it's hard going from there, as we've seen Wigan's defence just ramps up.
Well, the away support may have trekked across the Pennines more in hope than in expectation. But they've been treated to a half-decent performance here by Hull FC in this first 40 minutes. Certainly not the one-sided affair that three-quarters of this stadium were expecting. The magic number, of course, that margin of victory that the Wigan Warriors were looking for. It's one that every one of these Wigan Warriors supporters would be aware of, would be a 39 points winning margin. If they achieved that, the Warriors would go back into one of two coveted positions, top two, and you would need no reminding that top two is a week off and a home draw in the playoffs. There's plenty of rugby to be played between now and then. But it's better to sit there, isn't it, than have to find that late on in the piece.
Yeah, it sure is. And looking at, you know, what they've got coming up, Catalans, KR, they've got some tough games ahead. So trying to find those points this afternoon is certainly, perhaps Matt Pete, he'll be just asking for the win, really, won't he? But if they can get themselves a bit of a lead, expect them to throw the ball around, as we see some of the fans enjoying the afternoon. The players from Hull FC re-enter the field for the second half.
Yeah, it's a generational thing here at the Wigan Warriors, isn't it? Fans are indoctrinated at a young age, and they will wear the cherry and white as they grow up and learn more and more about this great game of rugby league. And when the Hull FC players are on the field, the Wigan Warriors, interestingly, still not back out there. Maybe there's some final words, some tinkering being done in that home dressing room. Because without labouring a point, it hasn't been clinical from the Wigan Warriors. I expected a ruthless performance. Now, there's been a fair amount of precision and execution when in position, but they haven't been afforded that. And I'm still trying to weigh up in my own mind, Courtney, whether that's down to a clunkiness on Wigan's part or a decent amount of scramble and desire from Hull FC.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that in the second half of the season. You know, I think it started with their win over Leeds Rhinos when they showed desire and scramble on the line, and it's just built from there. You have to acknowledge that this afternoon, but also just can't find their timing and the ball in the right hands for Wigan at the right times.
Just a bit of housekeeping then before we get back underway. We were informed during the half-time break that Jed Cartwright has passed his HIA. Whether he takes the field or not is another matter. I'm looking around and I can't see him on there at the moment. I dare say there's a fair bit of patching up to be done before he's ready to continue. But crucially, he's passed that hedge injury assessment. And Hull FC straight into action. They take 10 metres out of the Warriors, make that 12 on tackle one.
And talk about sending a signal in the first offensive shot of the game. Multiple numbers and they drive him back.
And the second tackle was pretty good as well. Here's Nsemba, one of the real success stories for the Wigan Warriors in 2024.
Yeah, he's been brilliant, and you know, whispers on the grapevine, are NRL clubs interested in him?
Stop
I
it,
hope
Courtney.
he stays.
Stop
I hope
it.
he stays. I love watching him every week.
Stop it. He's a young 20-year-old with a bright future ahead of him in the Super League.
I hope
right.
so. I hope you're right.
Kieran gets the ball away, downfield, taken on the full. Logan Moy returns that to the 30-metre line. The dancing feet of Logan Moy, you can't miss him, can you, with the colour of those boots? So we're just getting some information fed to us after initially on the understanding that Jed Cartwright had passed his HIA. They've had another look at him and they're not happy with what they've seen, so he'll play for no further part rather in this game. So that is a blow for them, because he's had a good first 40 minutes.
Yeah, massive blow, and was the one that crossed the try line there for FC in that first half. And as we know with the HIAs, 15 minutes later sometimes can be a little bit of a different story, and it was across the bridge of his nose. It certainly, as you say, needs some patching up. So we see them.
Smith is away and he's into the backfield. He's just pulled down by Jack Farrimond. They get to the end of the set, and it's been a good set, a positive set from Hull FC. Not sure that's the right option. Short ball to Fash, Fash to Smith, Smith to Field. They've got to have the wits about them now, Hull FC, and they do, and they pull Field into touch. What a brilliant passage of play for the visitors. I questioned the option to go short side at the end of the set. Well, they've proved me wrong, and they're going to get an early look and a good close look at this Wigan line. Now, just to clarify, to go back to Jed Cartwright, we're hearing from the touchline that he initially passed a head injury assessment. The doctors weren't happy with how he was presenting, notwithstanding that he passed that first assessment. They gave him a second assessment, and he's subsequently failed that second head injury assessment. So just to clear that up for everybody at home, he will play no further part in this game, but he'll also missing in round 24 as well. So a blow for Hull FC, but they're in great position at the moment. Ashworth drives into the belly of the Wigan Warriors defence. Jordan Lane, he's looking round, he's waiting to see what's going to happen with the halves, who are stood directly behind the ruck. They break late, and they break left, and it goes to Logan Moy, and I'm not sure, well, I'm pretty certain that that wasn't the plan. Logan Moy goes to plan B, which is run, and he's brought down right underneath the sticks, 8 metres out, still tackles in the bank for FC. Out to Charles. Charles back on the inside. Here's Leon Ruan. He's held up by Liam Byrne. Now they're in position towards the left-hand side. They go short. They try and go through the front door with Will Gardner. He's well dealt with. And now they are at the end of the set. Lane sits at dummy half. He's waiting for the ball from Will Gardner. It's out the back to Charles. Charles steps off the right, ducks underneath the left, but he's wrapped up. He's wrapped up by Nsemba, and Jay Field is just there for good measure, just to make sure there's no late offload. Assessment of that set in possession.
Yeah, well, I think you can rewind a little bit. When they chose to go down the blind, it was a really great reaction and response defensively to give them some time still at this end of the field. So we see a little bit of a tangle in the ruck, but just think on that occasion, a couple of times there, you just see a little bit of timing issues of some of the ball runners to their playmakers, and they'll certainly be looking to tidy the tempo of that up as the game goes.
Yeah, they're missing the main strike half, aren't they, in Jake Truman. He's the one with the experience, and they've relied an awful lot, haven't they, on young Jack Charles and Morgan Smith. And Logan Moy, only in his 12th appearance for the Black and Whites. It's a sliced kick, though, under pressure, it has to be said, from Hull FC, from Cruz Lehman. It was an attempted 40-20, but because of the pressure that he was under, that has gone out on the full. And Hull FC, look, right, they're in good position and possession again. They can't waste these opportunities, Courtney.
No, they can't, because when you're playing a team like the Wigan Warriors, you never know when your next opportunity is going to come. So you have to get your nose in the trough and go. And on that occasion, little 1% efforts like that, the influence on the Cruz Lehman kick to force it out of play, that's just brilliant and needs to be rewarded.
So Logan Moy is struggling to get back to his feet under the probably 200-odd kilos worth of Sam Walters and Liam Byrne. They go short side, they opt short side again. Play 3. Smith finds Charles. Charles over the top, cuts out 3, and it's fumbled and knocked on by Harvey Barron. I thought the referee may have given him a break there. You can interpret that one of two ways. It wasn't a clean catch, was it? And for some referees, that's enough. It was a looped pass right over the top, and it was a fumble.
Yeah, struggle to pick that up on the half volley, isn't it, from Barron? It was a big old rainbow out the back.
I'm not sure he needed to miss out 3 players. You know, Simon Grix will be sending a message down there going, look, if the front runners can hit the points, then you maybe miss 1 player. You don't need to loop the entire lot.
Yeah, especially on the 3rd tackle. You know, 30 metres out, still a lot of space to run and roll the dice on a very low percentage there, that's for sure.
So the Warriors back in possession. And they'll just want a clean set. They'll want a clean set and to get the ball down the other end of the field because they haven't started the half well. Whoa! I tell you what, that's a shot. That's woken Sam Walters up. Ashworth goes for the double. Byrne, this time low, sensible. Byrne's a man mountain.
What a great shot, and followed up. Fash has taken his energy and tried to follow up again. That's got to inspire your team.
Yeah, heavy contact. Great shot from Jack Ashworth. Gets the shoulder and everything else in there as well. And the attack's broken down. The Warriors are rattled here. They've got to the end of the set. They're still inside their own half. And this Hull FC side, they're applying some line speed here, some real pressure. Ball goes up from Kieran. It's a wobbler. Martin back pedals. Takes it cleanly. He's looking to the outside here. He's got pace as Lewis Martin. But he's brought down by Douglas and Eckersley. Ball now back on the inside to Briscoe. Quiet Briscoe. He's had a couple of decent moments in defence. 1 ball that led to a break, but other than that, a quiet afternoon so far. Short side, Barron into a standing, static Wigan Warriors defence.
Can't you sense a different energy from Hull FC on the start of this second half as we see Fash drive it in hard?
Yeah, they're targeting Farrimond, aren't they, in defence? Gone short side. That's the 3rd time now in the opening 6 or 7 minutes of this half, and they just get into Warriors territory before they're going to be forced to put boot to ball. And it's going to be through Morgan Smith, and it's into the corner. Douglas has got plenty of time here. Douglas comes in field, improves the options for the Wigan Warriors. Farrimond to Marshall. Marshall on his 200th appearance. Now Leeming darts from the ruck, finds a couple of defenders wanting, rolls out of another tackle, nearly gets away from the clutches of Brad Fash, and then a quick play the ball as well. Thompson gets an offload away, Field steps, goose steps, through 1, through 2, into the backfield, he's got support. He's just cleaned up by a desperate Hull FC defence. Now Farrimond puts it on the toe. Has that got too much on it? Just too much. Just bounces the wrong way, and Farrimond holds his hand up. The chase was there. If he could have taken out the pitching wedge rather than the 9-iron, he maybe would have had a chance. But what a break from Jay Field. Been waiting for a spark like this, haven't we, from him? He's had 2 try assists, but let's make no bones about it, that's his strength.
Yeah, that's trademark Jay Field, isn't it? When he finds space, and the goose step and the incredible agility that he possesses comes on show. But could just see the massive energy input that Hull FC had pushed straight up into the first half. A little disjointed in their defence, so be interested if it had been a dropout.
They're putting plenty of traffic Jack Farrimond's way. They're making him do an awful lot of defensive work. Targeted it is, and here's SASA pointing, saying that man's offside, sir. Referee's having none of it. SASA plays the ball out to Charles. Charles to Yusuf Aydin, rolls, and then he's brought down by 3 Wigan Warriors defenders. Gardner to SASA, second carry of the set. That's a decent one. SASA regains his feet. End of the set. Charles up in the air, under pressure from Leeming. Marshall under pressure from Barron. And the ball's gone into touch now then. How has this gone out? How has this come out?
Tell you what, there's a lot of traffic in there. We'll need to see a bit of a replay.
Well, the referee's already made his decision, and his decision is that it's come off a Hull hand, and so it's going to be Wigan. And Wigan play the ball, Wigan possession. We're hearing from the sidelines that Ed Chamberlain has popped an AC joint. So highly unlikely that we'll see him again this afternoon. So that's a rotation option gone now. So they've only got 2 players on the bench now.
Yeah, and Tough, as we saw in that last set, a little disconnected and a bit of fatigue. This energy, can they sustain it? You'd really hope they can for the sake of the game, because it's a brilliant game so far.
Well, the rotation's going to hurt them, that lack of options to rest players, because there's some big men out there in the middle who are going to have to do some more minutes than was originally planned. Because of the absence of Cartwright, failed HIA, if you recall. And now Ed Chamberlain popped AC joint, and they are painful. But Hull FC have done a decent job here again in restricting meters. Kieran, he gets under the belly of that. Oh, I'll tell you what, that's a spiral. Good luck catching that, Logan Moy. Just lets it, well, listen, that's smart. That's smart. The ball moved and it moved late. It was a brilliant kick, and it's best to go backwards than to try and take that on the full and risk a knock on.
Yeah, it was an absolutely belting kick. Had some revolutions on it. With that comes last minute shape on the ball. He bailed out, but does really well to return it. As we see the crowd.
Yeah, that you can see him move. Logan Moy had to adjust his body position, because you know those balls come down and they move late when they've got a spiral on them. Here's Tumivavi. Hull FC well and truly in this game. Lewis Martin. Again, the find in the chest of Jack Farriman. That's been, look, if that's not been a game plan #1 at half-time, because I think it's the 5th or 6th time we've seen it, take some energy, put some fatigue in that young little halfback.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you? A young halfback like that, and just got to play the physics game, get your big men on little men. Certainly a conversation that's been had in the sheds at half-time to spot that player.
Douglas, like what I've seen from him so far, tidy, industrious. Took his try really well on 8 minutes. So elsewhere, Connie, I beg your pardon, we're getting a score update elsewhere. London Broncos drawn level with the Lee Leopards. I tell you what, this season never ceases to provide entertainment and unexpected scorelines, results here, there and everywhere. The London Broncos really in a seam of form at the moment. Lee Leopards, they got designs on the 6, remember. End of the set. Another one here from Kieran. This time it's a regulation bomb. Logan Moy's got plenty of time here. Yeah, and it's safely taken as well. And this kid can move. He's got a great step. He's really well balanced. He beats 3 defenders. Oh, gets the ball away. And you know, I think that maybe touched a Warriors player, but it's picked up and then stripped. It's stripped and it's wave play on. And the referee stopped the clock now for an injury, a potential injury to a Wigan Warrior. There's a physio on the field who's looking at the head of a Warriors player, and it looks like there's more blood being spilt there. What an incredibly exciting passage of play. Logan Moy, so good to watch, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. He positioned himself beautifully under that high kick, as we see again. Just another head clash which comes out.
Well, it was, I think it was desperate diving attempts to try and bring Logan Moy down, and Liam Marshall has clearly been opened up there. And just,
physios and trainers working hard for their wage this afternoon, aren't they?
So Liam Marshall will have to leave the field for a head injury assessment. It's not how he envisaged, I'm sure, his 200th appearance going, but it's part and parcel of the game. And there's claret all over the place. And is it another case of friendly fire? Yes, it is. Oh, I tell you what.
And when it's your own team,
let's not replay that one again. If the director's listening, do not replay that one again. That was an immediate opening up. And I tell you what, there's going to be some needlework involved there for Liam Marshall. Boy, these boys are tough. Ethan Havard retakes the field, and Liam Marshall will not only have to face a head injury assessment, but he'll have to be stitched up something chronic.
Certainly will. And as we say, they're tough competitors, these rugby league players. Get back to their feet. He may or may not be back this afternoon. That may balance out the rotations.
Meanwhile, the Wigan Warriors, again in attack. Crews leaving again, looking for options, and again, nothing particularly slick about what we've seen so far, but they do get a set restart, the Warriors, and they're now inside the 10. The signal here is always Jay Field. They've gone the opposite side, they've gone to Kieran. Is it going to matter? I don't think so. I don't think so, because Junior Nsemba has pretty much walked in through a tired-looking Hull FC defence. And after a fair bit of rearguard action and a really positive start to the second half, they succumb to the power game of Junior Nsemba. Steps back inside from a pass from Adam Kieran, and he picks up his 5th Super League try of what is a stellar season. And now there's a bit of action off the ball here, and there's some disgruntled players. And Tyler Dupree wants a really close word with Brad Fash. Brad Fash just gives a giggle and a laugh. The referee needs to pull these two sets of players apart. The try has been awarded. The try stands. I think there's frustration and everything else under the sun there. Brad Fash, and he's making his feelings known. But the try stands, and it's Junior Nsemba. And I thought at first they'd picked the wrong side to go. Jay Field had disappeared off the right, you can see there, but then just Kieran dragging and looking for a switch off on the inside, and he gets it. And Junior Nsemba is such a powerful, strong athlete, isn't he? No one's going to stop him from that sort of distance.
Not from that position. And as we see, when the Wigan Warriors, when they get to their points, even when it's a slow play the ball, they get time, and they get time to set themselves up. It was a little jink from Kieran, and he dropped the very powerful Nsemba back underneath. And good luck to anyone standing in front of that man. He's a powerhouse.
Just quickly explain to the listeners at home what you mean by points when you get into points on the field. What options does that give you?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at points, quite often is it centre field, so you've got options both sides of the ruck, or is it you get to what we call 30s and 70s, that half, sort of that a third to either side of the post, which opens up, and you get depth, shape and time.
Sort of where from Adam Kieran's kicking would be a 30-70, wouldn't it? So you would load one side then, presumably. Load
one side, and that when you've got a player like a Jay Field, and you can get him with time on the ball out the back, that is absolutely crucial. So when we're going to doing that this afternoon, I don't care who stands in front of them, what team, that is so difficult to stand up to.
So Kieran adds the extras, 16 points to 4. This is not yet a done deal. There's plenty of time, and Hull FC have shown plenty of enterprise and plenty of endeavour. But what a season this is turning out to be for Junior Nsemba.
Certainly a massive asset to them. Every week, week in, week out, big minutes, big meters. Same again today.
We would have just had something which would have been a penalty there for a hit off the ball from Leon Ruin. So you speak to him about being smart in that instance, but then you speak to Tyler Dupree about making a deal of it when we don't need it. Okay, gents, is that all right? Yeah, cheers. Cheers, fellas.
Well, the referee just laying down the law there and telling them to get back to the primary objective, which is playing rugby league and not arguing and pushing and shoving and handbags and nattering away to one another. The game's tough enough. So Jack Charles gets Hull FC back underway. Byrne rattles into the teeth of 3 Hull FC defenders. Dupree is brought down by Leon Ruan. Here's the try scorer. Another rampaging run. This guy, it's just basically arms and elbows and knees. He must be so awkward and painful to tackle. Havard.
He's a real gladiator, isn't he? And Nsemba, such a big physical athlete and skillful as well.
Oh, the Wigan Warriors are absolutely peppered with that sort of frame athlete, aren't they? Byrne, Havard and Nsemba. They're all over 6 foot. Athletic, strong, great engines on them. Here comes Kieran, end of the set. Logan Moy casually trots across takes the ball on the full, and then goes about improving the position, which he does, before he's cut down by the good chase from Ethan Havard. Now an early shift. It's cottoned on too early though by the Wigan Warriors. They're not having Hull FC going round them. And Hull FC moves sideways but not forwards. Here's Harvey Barron over the advantage line. Big collision between Wardle and Barron. Neither hanging around. Both want to get on with it. Briscoe from dummy half. It feels like both teams maybe step this up a notch.
Absolutely, and it was Barron that came across from the other side of the field to find himself some time with his hands on the ball. Another good run and offload from SA.
A sense of urgency now about Hull FC. We're just about to enter the final quarter of the game. Smith under pressure from Cruz Leeming. Ball taken on the full by Jack Farrimond. It's a good result for the Wigan Warriors. They've invested a bit in that set in defence. It was an aggressive set in defence. Douglas, first carry. He makes nothing post contact. He's into the teeth of Fash. Yeah, it's good kick pressure. Yeah, those little things can mean a lot, can't they? And it's the difference between a good kick and a bad kick, and a much better starting position for your set. Short side.
Multiple times this afternoon from Cruz Leeming too, haven't we? Job's not done when you're at marker, particularly on the last play of the set. As we see him now, hands on the ball.
It's okay to push.
Farrimond over the top into the hands of Douglas. Douglas just checks and then goes, but doesn't go past Morgan Smith. Warriors to the end of their set. Farrimond, the get out is Kieran. Kieran's under pressure, just gets the ball away before Yusuf Aiden makes contact. Harvey Barron. He goes to improve the position. They don't want to get caught on the sideline. They don't want to allow the Wigan Warriors to shorten up that defensive line. So that's why the wingers are really keen on tracking sideways to go in field. But now Lewis Martin goes back to the wing. Thought he saw a potential opening, a potential opportunity. That particular door was closed. 2 plays gone. Barron to Ruan. Ruan makes very little progress. And the Warriors here really emphasising the line speed. Not an awful lot in terms of options in front of them. Carlos Tuamivavi takes them into the back end of their set. And that's a better carry. That's a much better carry from SA. That's rescued their set.
Yeah, the post-contact meters there were big, weren't they? As we see Smith get the kick away, fine touch, and it'll just slow it down a fraction for them.
Yeah, it's not a bad option either, is it? I think that it's a tired-looking Hull FC side, and as we said before, they're lacking 2 numbers now. They have no Jed Cartwright, they have no Ed Chamberlain.
Yeah, and you can see fatigue.
They have just 15 players now.
Yep.
They've got to see the rest of this game out. There's still a quarter of the match left. There are the 2 injured protagonists. 1 failed HIA, 1 suspected AC injury.
You can start to feel the game opening up. Both teams, you can see fatigue setting in. It was a really good kick there from Smith, just to give his team that little bit of a breather, catch their breath.
Well, set restart as much as anything else, isn't it? This backfield for the Warriors, we know are very dangerous. Mago, in his second stint, he's back on the field. But he's pushed back, and an offload is forced. Thompson dodges the attentions of Morgan Smith, straightens up in field. That's a rampaging run, and it's going to be a quick play the ball as well. Leeming back on the inside to Havard. Havard on the inside to Jay Field. This kid's got space, he's got time, he finds Wardle. Wardle is wrapped up, and he's wrapped up well by Logan Moore. That's good tracking defensive work by the fullback. Out to Leeming. Leeming steps back short side. They've got numbers, and Farrimond's over, and it was a matter of time. Logan Moy got caught short side, disappeared out of the defensive line. It was picked early by Cruz Leeming. They go back to the soft side, the side where they've got static defenders who haven't had time to talk. And Farrimond, the try scorer. Farrimond, his 4th of the season. And what a prospect he is. And is that the game-breaking moment, Courtney? You were talking about fatigue, you were talking about lack of energy, you were starting to see it now. You expected it to open up. is that the point now where the game turns?
Well, I think now with 18 minutes to go, to score 16, 18, 20 points to get back in the game against a team like Wigan, it certainly will be tough. As we see, Farriman scored last week. He scores again this week, stepping into big shoes in the halves positions at the Wigan Warriors, but certainly up to the task, isn't he? And what a brilliant future for him. But it was on the back, some great vision through the middle of the field, and Jay Field again shifted the ball out wide. As we see the coaching staff, they'll be delighted with another score on the board to give them some breathing space.
Don't forget the amount of defensive work that Jack Farriman had to soak up in the early part of that second half. Hull FC's stated aim and intention was to get well and truly into him and make him do some repeat efforts in defence. He's soaked all that up, and then he's come back with a killer blow. So Kieran lines up, and we'll take his time as well, because I mean, this is it has been nip and tuck for large portions of this game. Yes, the Warriors have now opened up a considerable lead, but there's a fair bit of energy being expelled in their pack as well. So you'd forgive Kieran for taking the allotted time, the full allotted time, before he goes to try and add on the 2 extra points. This to take them out to an 18-point lead. Just sneaks inside the right-hand upright. And it is 22 points to 4. Just under 17 minutes left in the competition. And another look, Corny, at the break midfield. It was really good to watch. This is where we like to see Jay Field, in the backfield, with options, with time. It wasn't the 70-30 split stuff that you talked about, but it's the same principle, isn't it? A ball player with time in front of him, and then the smarts from Lehman to find Farriman on the short side to put them 3 scores in front. Byrne back into action. And they've been consistent, certainly in the early parts of sets of Hull FC. They've not given up on this responsibility, this defensive responsibility. They've shown up well.
No, they haven't, and it's just, as we see there, it's where the last play broke down the markers, and it was Cruz Leeming that jumped out. This desire in defence, they must stay on and just continue the little efforts in and around marker, or you can see it being exposed.
Farriman back on the inside to Thompson. Thompson right over the top. And then a quick play the ball again. Here's Mago. Much improved in his 18-month spell. One of the most improved Wigan Warriors players. Goes short side to Farriman. Farriman to Wardle. Just a little dribble through, and it's going to pop up here for Douglas. It's into Douglas's hands, but it's a good covering tackle by Logan Moy. Ball and all. He didn't need to worry about stopping momentum. He knew at that point, despite his inexperience in the first grade, that the ball was a threat. Just wrap the ball up. Doesn't matter what happens to anything else.
Yeah, he clung on to him for dear life, didn't he? But again, we see the Wigan Warriors pushing down this right-hand edge. So we see Briscoe bringing out a strong run.
So 22 points to 4 here. Let's take an update from the Cherry Red Record Stadium. The Lee Leopards are visitors, and they've just edged back in front. So it's a real tussle going on down there. It's going to be a hard-fought one, you feel, whether it's going to be the Broncos who'll lift themselves off the bottom of the table with a win, or the Lee Leopards will close the gap on the top 6, a top 6 that is ever-changing. Certainly in terms of position within those top 6 playoff positions. Now a penalty to Hull FC. It's a challenge off the ball, and it's Jack Ashworth that careered backwards. I think it was either Liam Byrne or Patrick Mago who made contact with him, but a relieving penalty for Hull FC. And they're going to have to get the skates on a little bit if they want to try and make a dent in this lead. I don't believe for a minute they've given up on the game. But it's Ashworth who gets the offload away, and then it's a late shot from Mago. There's not an awful lot in it, it's just a lazy late shot, and a penalty is sufficient, you feel.
Yeah, as you say, just a little bit lazy. Didn't need to.
Sorry, Courtney. It's not going to be sufficient. There's going to be more action here. The video referee has had a word in Aaron Moore's ear, and James Vella sees enough in this, and there'll be a card here. Patrick Mago is going to go to the bin here. Let's listen and see what the referee says.
Fellas, it's been reviewed. and the ball's clearly gone. There's no attempt to wrap, and there is flexion in the neck, so it's 10 minutes.
So a sin bin for Patrick Mago. No real complaints. And you heard the referee's explanation there. Flexion of the neck, late, ball gone, and put the attacking player in a vulnerable position. So talk us through. There's no real arguments, has he?
No, not really. I mean, like we say, it's lazy at least. And when you don't go in and don't really go for that wrap, and just drop the shoulder. Does Ashworth comes out okay, but quite often people don't.
So a shift from first play, and they're going to go right towards the area of the field where you can see Liam Marshall just appear in your shot, head bandaged, and the reason you can see him is because he's past his HIA. I tell you what, they've been quick with the needle there as well, haven't they, stitching him up. Good line speed from the Warriors. Leon Ruan's got nowhere to go. In fact, he has got somewhere to go, and that's back towards his own try line, to the cheers and applause of the home crowd, who've become engaged in this contest over the last 5 minutes or so. Ashworth into contact, and again he's manhandled by Sam Walters this time. Can't get him to ground though. He's a strong boy. He's Ashworth short side. Morgan Smith, cut out ball. Here's Briscoe, looks for an offload. He's in some space. He's ridden one tackle. He does get the offload. It's Logan Moy. It's now back to Jack Charles. They're looking for support. The riding tackles, the breaking tackles on FC. They're not done. Not by a long shot. Dummy half, just caught. Play on, says the referee. Ball went backwards. Jay Field grabbed him, but Hull FC are still going. Now just 5 metres out. They have one play left. It's harem, scarem stuff from Hull FC. And it's going to be the crash play. It's going to be, the short option was plan A. Now they go to plan B. That's a kick from Jordan Lane, and it's forced Jay Field into a kick dead. He's played safe, and the black and whites have earned themselves a repeat set there.
And what a great
some really
ending.
enterprising stuff.
Yep. It was Esse that ran it in, and when you've got a man down in the Wigan team, the last thing FC wanted to do was just hand it back over to them. Terrific decision there from Lane, just to dribble the ball and force the Wigan Warriors to deal with it. They will get a dropout and likely receive the ball. Gives them another chance as the clock ticks away.
Shot clock off.
They need to be the next to score.
Yeah, and you feel it probably needs to come in the next couple of minutes as well, because they've got to get this. They've got to get the skates on here. They've got to score multiple times. Ashworth starts the set off.
Still got it. One. Move, Junior, keep coming.
He's brought to the ground by 3 front rowers in cherry and white. It's not the best of balls from dummy half.
It's a real significant effort there from the Wigan defenders. Really squeezing and holding and finding FC on their back. When you're a man down, must try and win that play the ball, because when momentum's against you, there's nothing worse.
Well, they've got to play. They've got to play here, because there's going to be space, bigger space between these defenders. Again, just I'm not sure that's altogether in sync from Hull FC. Just needed a decent lead line runner there. That would have had a completely different complexion about it. As it is, we go to play 5. It's SASA who's brought down. Hand up from the referee. Last tackle, Charles goes out the line. Cut out ball. Oh, and it cuts out everybody. It cuts out the lot of them. Wigan and Hull FC.
Yeah, and this afternoon we've seen a couple of extra cutout balls from Charles. Just bites off a little bit more than required. You can see some great lines on his outside there. There was space.
Just a shade of forward maybe about that as well. Liam Marshall, bandage and all, gets things going for the Warriors again. Eckersley, footwork at the line, but he's still not able to penetrate that Hull FC defence. Now Wardle, clearly looking to give the forwards a breather, at least for the early part of this set. Wardle into Havard. Now the forwards get involved, and they get an immediate reward for the endeavour of the backs there. They draw an offside penalty from Hull FC.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Hull FC, but could have exposed them a little bit more at this end of the field. Instead, it's offside. Aramore calls them inside the 10.
So a score update from the Cherry Red Record Stadium. Lee now extend their lead. Could be really, really significant in the context of this season for the Lee Leopards. And it looks like that's, if they do go on to win, that's been a really hard-fought game there down in the capital. We're inside the last 10 minutes. Just a heads up, Courtney, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to ask you for your player of the match this afternoon. Adam Kieran, could he be one of them? He's certainly shown up well. Here's Nsemba, who plucks the ball and then passes it on to Ethan Havard. Again, another attacking set. It's not massively fluent from the Wigan Warriors, but they're still in position and they've got tackles in the bank. Farrimond out the back to Field. Field changes direction. He gets a call from Eckersley, who wanted a kick putting through, but instead he takes the tackle. 2 plays remaining in the set. Farrimond, wide ball from dummy half, and it's a chip over the head of Lewis Martin, and Jacob Douglas is just not able to take it. It looks good, the idea was right. Just maybe a tiny bit too much on the kick there, Courtney.
Yeah, it just didn't come off the boot clean either. Sort of came off the ankle rather than the boot. Would have liked to see him get his hands on that and control it in. It would have been a wrestle in that corner for sure. Briscoe. I'd love to see Jack Farrimond's defensive stats today. I think he must have done 30 tackles. They're not going to come out on the right side of this scoreline, Hull FC, but they emerge with some credit. They haven't folded here. We saw an awful lot of capitulations early on in the season. This is not that Hull FC side. They're playing with a bit of pride in this jersey. Yeah, they really have, and particularly after last week's defeat, they've certainly come out with some intention in their game, always looking to progress. So we've got some some more gruesome news from sideline for anybody who's interested. 8 stitches in the head of Liam Marshall. 8 rough stitches, Courtney. Apparently he's going back in tomorrow to get those tidied up. Go straight to the plastic surgeon, hey, and neaten them up. He won't be bothered. He won't mind at all. It adds character, Liam. Well, there was a bobble there, but the referee said, no, I'm absolutely fine with that. You would have thought for certain that was almost ready to be called a knock on, but referee Aaron Moore deems it to have been held off the floor in that juggle by Jai Field. Yeah, I'm not sure what constitutes a knock on anymore, if that's not. But anyway, let's see out the last 6 minutes of this game. Hill. And they've taken a bit of the sting out of Hull FC. Now, maybe this is where that fatigue has really started to count. Hull FC, remember, just 15 available players. Ball to ground, though, and this hasn't been the most fluent iteration of the Wigan Warriors this week either. It's been enough to get the win and the 2 points, but you know, I wouldn't imagine your top 2 or 3 sides will be quaking in the boots watching this. Logan Moy takes another one on the full. He's been very good in defeat, as has Harvey Barron. The outside backs, the back 3 for Hull FC in particular, been really industrious. You know, taken a bar, as is Lewis Martin now. Not advisable to run straight into the chest of Junior Nsemba, but there you go. You live and you learn. Harvey Barron, again, not hanging around. Second carried the set for him. I agree with you, John, around the backs of Hull FC. Moy, he messed one up early, was dragged into touch, but since then he's been terrific under the high ball, and booming kips from Kieran, linking up with his outside backs. They've done a lot of work there this afternoon, and great signs for them into the future. So Hull FC, last play of the set. Charles to Moy, Moy to Tumivavi, who steps, but he's wrapped up, and that's the end of the set. Right, whilst we've got a momentary pause in proceedings, Courtney, I asked you for consideration on player of the match. Who stood out to you head and shoulders above everybody else this afternoon? Oh, look, I think obviously Wigan Warriors coming out on top there this afternoon. As we mentioned, Moy's been very good for FC. Smith's been good for FC, but looks like Wigan will run away with it. For me, it's Jay Field, and it was the first half that he really cemented his performance today. A couple of try assists, but he's directed. When you don't have your typical halves in and about, he's certainly shown that this afternoon, and without him, it would have certainly been a closer scoreline as we see him back involved.
Here's Farriman, he's back involved, and here is on his shoulder Jay Field. He's gone the other side. He's ruined your player of the match selection, Courtney, because it should have gone the other way. It should have gone to Jay Field, and we should have all been celebrating just how prophetic you were in saying that he was the player of the match. Chance bombed. That'll be one they'll examine in the video review, I'm sure. But I'll tell you what, take nothing away from Farriman. To get into the backfield for a start, but that's not. When you've got Jay Field on your left shoulder, you're not looking to find Sam Walters on your right. With the greatest respect to the back rower, he gets pulled down and the ball is fumbled.
Well, it was a brilliant job for him to be there in support as a forward, but I think it was Jay Field that jinked out from behind. He was on the right and found himself on the left. Farriman obviously just lost his way there.
Well, you wonder whether Jay Field has kicked Jack Farriman's cap, because there was one option. When you're looking at that, you're going, I've got my wing-heeled fullback on the left-hand side. I have Sam Walters on the other. Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan of Sam Walters, but if I've got a choice, I mean, blimey, I couldn't find the pass. But if I had a choice and I could pass, it'd be Jay Field I'd be going to. Anyway,
timely run. Anyway,
approaching the final 2 minutes of what has been a decent quality contest, actually. It's one that the Wigan Warriors are going to take the competition points for, and it's going to be an 18 points in the plus column if no one scores again. But it won't be enough to lift them into second. They will stay in third position. But I think crucially at this point, it's wins, isn't it? And putting wins together. And that's the ball that's been called forward. So, scrum down. And possession for the Wigan Warriors on the halfway line. And they've gone for a 4-2 split. Interesting, the ground announcers have just announced, come back to that in 1 second. Kieran kicks ahead. There's a chase on here. It's Kieran, gets the bounce, but it's well tidied up. Well tidied up by Lewis Martin. The ground announcer just announced Cruz Leeming as player of the game. Was he in your considerations as well?
Absolutely he was. As we saw a couple of the tries, he bounced out from hooker, and he set up the start of those tries. A couple of really good efforts and kick pressure, so certainly he'd be in the top 3 this afternoon. And a big job for him coming into the back end of the year with injuries. He'll be the starting hooker, no doubt, for the remaining few games.
Goal 4. It's okay. Okay. Hey!
So Hull FC again come to the end of their set. Smith chops it across field, trapped rather classily by Jacob Douglas, who pings the ball up to our player of the match, Jay Field. We'll be speaking to him shortly after the final whistle. We'll get his assessment on Wigan's performance and result today. Douglas, I think, has acquitted himself really well this afternoon. Just his second appearance. Abbas Miski, of course, has played a lot of rugby this season. He's been rested, according to Matt Peat this afternoon. Jake Wardle, another classy operator.
Third. Go third.
Mago back on the field following his sin binning. Out to Field. Field to Eckersley. Eckersley stands up and goes on the outside of Carlos Tumivavi, but Carlos Tumivavi does enough just to check. And there is the final hooter. The final whistle has gone. And it is a win for the Wigan Warriors. It's not an emphatic win. It's not a drubbing. It's not been the one-sided affair that we've seen elsewhere in Super League, and perhaps some people expected to see this evening, Courtney. But it's a win nonetheless, and you would imagine Matt Peat, the coaching staff, would take that.
Yeah, first and foremost, this time of year, it's about the win, and regardless of where they find themselves in finals, they're going to be competitive, aren't they? The ability to blood a couple of young players, continue their experience, crucial potentially at the end of this year and going forward. So all positive for them. WFC, you can't say that they've lied down either, can you? Good performance there this afternoon, one we may not have expected, but they continue to show desire at patches, and you know, if it weren't for a couple of blood bins, etc., HIAs, you know, I would have loved to have seen, could they have sustained that energy across the second half?
It's a really important point you make, that. So, you know, the margin of defeat's 18 points, and you could never equate missing personnel or extra unplanned minutes played to points conceded, but there's definitely a correlation there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and we saw it for them. It was Cartwright that went off. He was their try scorer in the first half, as we see the coaching staff make their way down to their players. But yeah, certainly, and it takes some managing, doesn't it, at big minutes from their forwards, who showed signs of fatigue, and just a couple of tries late in the game to close it out for Wigan. But they'll certainly, they won't be happy with this afternoon. They'll be looking to tidy that up, because performances like that, you know, they're gonna have to just polish them, aren't they? Certainly, because who knows what the remaining of the year is going to bring, who comes back in.
Okay, so I think we may have player of the match, Jay Field, ready to speak to us. Jay, I can see you've got the headphones up on from our lofted position up here. First of all, congratulations on picking up the Betfred player of the match. A superb individual performance, but I guess from your perspective, more importantly, a win for the Warriors again.
Yeah, of course. You know, we had to sort of back up last week. It's always a tough physical game against Saints, so obviously getting your body back up and right to go again for another physical game was definitely important.
Just talk us through your two try assists. You make it look so easy. Is the secret there early service and having a time to assess a defensive line?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Obviously, our day and age now, edge defences are so accustomed and good at defend and block shape, so obviously down on that try line, you're trying to eliminate that by getting just a two-pass sort of shape, so you can't really get jammed.
Now, you would have guarded against, I'm sure, a repeat of round 18. That was an embarrassing performance from a Wigan point of view over in East Yorkshire. You have redemption of sorts today. You pick up the 2 points and you get to move on.
Yeah, of course, obviously very uncharacteristic performance down there that day, and to be fair, they turned up and really gave us a good run and obviously come away with the win, so yeah, it was obviously a little bit about righting that wrong, but you know, playing them sides at the back end of the year when they've sort of got nothing to lose sort of can be tricky. You know, we're sort of trying to find a bit of rhythm to play into the finals, and they can sort of just throw it around and air it out, play a bit of pressure-free footy, so they're always tricky games, but happy to get the 2 points.
Listen, Jay, thanks for taking the time to come and talk to us. And if you do go and get the chance to go and see Liam Marshall, his head's in a right mess. So go and put your arm around him. Well, it's his 200th career appearance. He looks in a sorry state. Jay, many congratulations on the win. Many congratulations on the Betfred player of the game. And thanks for talking to us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.
So Jay Field there, who was instrumental certainly in the first half, as you said, Courtney, in providing try assists for Jacob Douglas on the 8th minute and Zach Eckersley on 21 minutes. Hull FC fought back with a try from Cartwright just before the half-time, but you're going to take us through the second half tries, just a couple, both from the Wigan Warriors, and it started on the 56th minute.
Yeah, it did. In the first 16 minutes of the half, was FC came out with some energy, but it was at this point here where they dropped Nsemba flying back underneath, and it was Kieran that set that one up, and at that point took it out to 16-4. And it was here through the back play, as we mentioned. Cruz Leeming instrumental in setting this one up. Great footwork from Wardle, and they bounced back down the short side, took advantage, and they had a 3-on-1 at one point. But it was Farriman that goes over again. He went over last week. He finds his way over again, and a big future for the young halfback who's filled in some really big shoes this year.
Well, I'm pleased to say that the vanquished coach, Simon Griggs, has found the time to come and talk to us, and we always appreciate this, Simon. You've done a few of these, and we're sorry we have to talk in these circumstances, but you must be proud with the effort that's been put in. Look, you've not got the result, and I know you said in meetings you don't want to talk about pride, you want to talk about results, but you know, I think you boys showed up really well this evening.
Yeah, I think after our last outing, I would have expected nothing less, and I'd have took nothing less either, to be honest. Effort, yeah, definitely there, Wellesley, just not smart enough at times, and our discipline really let us down. But you're playing against a Wigan team that's full of really strong athletes that they carry you up the field, and a little bit of class in there as well. So I think we can be proud of our performance, which was the aim, really.
Not giving you excuses, but you did lose 2 players, one to a failed HIA and one to an injury. That surely affected the minutes that you had to put into the big men in the middle of the field.
Yeah, some blokes did it tough through the middle. Obviously, we lost Ed, shoulder early, Jed with a HIA. So yeah, Will Gardner, Yusuf there did real big stints for us. Fast John Lane, I don't know how many tackles they did. 80 minutes through the middle of the field against probably the best pack in the competition. So yeah, some real good efforts in amongst. We'll go away, take the positives out of it, mate, and we'll move on quickly.
Listen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, Simon. We wish you safe travels home and commiserations on the result this afternoon.
No worries, but thank you.
Right, let's take a look at the stats then. We knew it was a fairly close run affair at half-time, Courtney. What stands out here there? I mean, that's pretty even across the board, isn't it? I guess that speaks to the precision of execution when in position from the home side.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there. And it probably evened out even more so in the second half, didn't it, stats-wise? But as Simon Griggs just alluded to, probably the penalties across the game at key points encouraged and enticed Wigan back into the game.
Yep, so a win for the Wigan Warriors, and I'm delighted to say that head coach Matt Peat has been listening in. Matt, congratulations, a win. Would I be fair in saying some rhythm back into this side?
I think you're being kind saying that. Yeah, we need to improve. We've faced a few challenges last few weeks. We've picked up a few wins, but we know we're going to have to be better. And I was hoping for a bit better today. I think the players the same, but you've got to credit Hull FC for some of the things that they did well. But yeah, I hope we build more rhythm going forward, John, that's for sure.
So, okay then, a word on Liam Marshall. Let's take something you can be effusive about. His 200th career appearance, and a man who very much encapsulates the values of this club, both on and off the field. You must be incredibly proud of him.
I am very proud of him. It's a privilege to work with him. He was captain for us today, which I think is the first time, and I think he's one that we're really excited for. And I think the lads wanted to perform well because he's such a popular member of the staff, of the playing group. We think a lot of him, and he delivers as a player as well, which is probably the most important thing. We love him to bits. His family's ingrained in the club, and like you say, every club needs people like Liam Marshall.
And the Dragons up next in Perpignan. There's another desperate side going to be in front of you next week.
Yeah, John, it's that time of year. I think everyone's playing for something important, and there's a lot banking on these games. And I think ourselves and Catalan will be looking to improve next week, and they're probably the team that improves the best going into that game that comes out on top.
Thanks very much, Matt. Really appreciate your time. Congratulations on the win. So let's take a look at what that's done to the league table. And the Wigan Warriors were eyeing a 39-point winning margin. They've not quite managed that, but they do move up into second place in the table. Well, Hull FC, avoided going bottom, didn't they, because of Lee's victory down in the capital. So the Warriors, the interest over the next month will be the jostle for those playoff spots. Remember, first and second earn a week off and a route straight to the home semi-final. The one thing is for sure, round 24, which comes next week, will be very revealing indeed.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.